What if the most magnetic people in the room were the ones who never had to say a word? The ones who didn't flash their charm or flaunt their confidence, but who quietly commanded attention, effortlessly. In a noisy world that constantly demands validation, there is something mysteriously powerful about those who carry a calm, grounded energy. This isn't about charisma. It's about presence, the kind of presence that doesn't shout, but still echoes in every room they enter. Silent attractiveness isn't just a trait, it's a craft. It's the invisible thread that connects independence with grace, wisdom with warmth, and poise with presence. You've seen it before. Someone walks in, says little, yet leaves everyone curious. You wonder, what is it about them? It's not their look. It's not their status. It's something deeper, a way of being that speaks directly to your instincts. That is the essence of silent allure. In this journey, we'll uncover the timeless habits that shape such presence. Not tricks, not performances, but real inner transformations grounded in Stoic wisdom and emotional intelligence. These habits won't just change how people perceive you, they'll change how you perceive yourself. So take a breath, slow down, and prepare to step into a different kind of power, the quiet kind that doesn't seek the spotlight, yet always draws it in. Habit 1, embrace your authentic independence. There's a rare and radiant strength in the person who walks alone, not in bitterness or isolation, but in self-possession, in knowing who they are, where they stand, and why they no longer need the applause of the crowd to validate their worth. This is not the loneliness of rejection, it's the liberation of returning home to yourself. It's the grounded, magnetic calm of someone who has made peace with solitude and found gold within their own soul. True independence has nothing to do with being unreachable, untouchable, or emotionally detached. It is about being deeply connected to your own truth, your own values, your own inner compass. It is the quiet but powerful realization that your worth does not live in the hands of others. You don't need their permission to trust yourself. You don't need their validation to walk your own path. And yet, in a world addicted to approval, this kind of sovereignty is radical. Every day, people contort themselves into palatable versions of who they think they should be. They shrink to fit into expectations. They chase trends to feel relevant. They measure their value in likes, followers, applause. But the silently attractive? They do none of this. They do not shout to be seen. They do not bend to be accepted. They radiate something stronger, self-respect. Not the loud kind, but the deep, still kind. The kind that settles into your bones. Authentic independence is not rebellion for rebellion's sake. It's not about proving anything to anyone. It's about choosing, consciously, courageously, to live in integrity with who you are. Even when the crowd goes the other way. Even when it's uncomfortable. Especially then, it means knowing how to say yes with full conviction, and no without apology. It means walking away when your soul says this is not for me. It means staying when something feels right. Even if it doesn't make sense to others. And perhaps most importantly, it means learning to enjoy your own company, not because you dislike people, but because you've learned that peace is not something you find in others, but something you build within yourself. You no longer fear being alone because you are no longer abandoned by yourself. This kind of presence cannot be faked. You walk into a room and people notice, not because you demand it, but because you carry an unspoken certainty. Your voice doesn't shake when you speak because your truth doesn't need rehearsing. Your decisions aren't frantic because they weren't made to please, they were made from alignment. You don't compete, compare, or crave approval. You simply move in truth. And that, ironically, is what draws people in. But cultivating this level of independence is not instant. It is a journey. It is built in the quiet hours, in the tough moments, in the decisions no one else sees. It takes courage to walk away from what is popular but misaligned. It takes faith to trust your instincts when no one else understands. It takes discipline to sit with discomfort instead of reaching for distraction. Begin by asking the hard questions. Are the dreams I'm chasing truly mine, or inherited from someone else's blueprint? Am I acting from love or fear? Am I performing to be liked or living to be real? Then, start the gentle work of returning to yourself. Spend time in solitude, not to escape, but to reconnect. Go for walks without your phone. Eat a meal in silence. Write down what you actually feel, not what you think you should feel. Rebuild trust with your intuition by listening to it, and then honoring it. Bit by bit, the noise outside quiets. The fear dissolves. And what remains is something solid, unshakable. You. As this clarity grows, you'll begin to notice something miraculous. You stop chasing attention, chasing worth, chasing relationships that drain you. You no longer need someone else to tell you you're enough. You already know, and something else happens too. Your connections deepen. When you are no longer looking to be completed, you create space for real intimacy. Not dependency, not performance. Just two whole humans choosing each other freely. When you stop trying to prove your worth, you attract those who see it clearly. This is the paradox of independence. The more self-sufficient you become, the more fulfilling your relationships get, because they are built on choice, not need. So be the person who walks alone, not to isolate, but to integrate. Not to be different, but to be authentic. Not to retreat from the world, but to meet it with grounded presence. You don't need to be louder. You don't need to be flashier. You just need to be real, because the most attractive thing you can be is yourself. Fully embodied, fully at peace. That is the quiet strength of authentic independence. And it will change your life, and the way the world responds to you. Habit 2. Master the art of listening. In a world that competes to speak, the ones who listen become unforgettable. Listening isn't just the act of staying quiet while someone else talks. It's a sacred art. It is a discipline of attention, an act of presence, and a gift you offer to another person that says, I see you. I hear you. You matter. And that kind of presence, quiet, undemanding, yet fully engaged, is rare. It's also deeply attractive. Most people are not truly listened to. In conversation, they are often interrupted, corrected, or half-heard. They speak into rooms full of distracted minds and impatient hearts. That's why, when they finally encounter someone who listens not just with ears, but with their whole being, it feels like a balm, like home, like something sacred. The silently attractive know this. They don't need to dominate conversations to command respect. They don't interrupt to assert their intelligence. Instead, they remain grounded, patient, attentive. They let silence stretch. They allow others to speak their truth, to process, to feel safe. And in that space, something beautiful happens. Trust is built. To listen well is to hold space without trying to fix, advise, or perform. It's resisting the urge to shift the spotlight back to yourself. It's not thinking of what to say next, but instead becoming deeply interested in what is being said now. It's a kind of reverence for the speaker, for the moment, for the human experience. There's a strength in restraint, a power in silence. The person who listens more than they speak is often the one whose words carry the most weight when they finally do speak, because people know those words were not formed from ego, but from understanding. Listening is also an inner discipline. It begins with self-awareness. Are you truly present, or just waiting for your turn to talk? Are you open, or already forming your rebuttal? Real listening requires humility. It asks you to set aside your need to be right, to be impressive, to be heard, and instead become a student of another person's truth. In practicing this, you become someone others are drawn to, not because you entertain them, but because you make them feel seen. And that is one of the deepest longings in the human heart. But the art of listening also teaches you how to listen inward. As you sharpen your ability to hear others, you naturally become more attuned to your own internal voice. You begin to hear what your body is saying, what your emotions are trying to express, what your intuition has been whispering all along. Listening outward becomes a mirror for listening inward. And from that place of self-connection, you begin to show up differently in the world, more grounded, more wise, more aware. To cultivate this habit, start small. The next time someone speaks to you, put your phone away. Make eye contact. Notice their tone, their body language, the spaces between their words. Reflect instead of reacting. Ask follow-up questions that show you're truly engaged. And most importantly, resist the urge to turn the conversation back to you. In doing this, you'll begin to notice that people trust you more. They open up to you. They seek your company not because you always have the right answers, but because your presence feels like peace. You become a quiet refuge in a noisy world. There is also a kind of listening that goes beyond words, when you can hear what is unspoken, when you sense the heaviness in someone's tone, when you notice the sadness behind their smile. This intuitive listening requires presence and empathy. It requires stillness, and it is profoundly healing. When you master the art of listening, you stop trying to impress, and you begin to connect. You stop trying to lead with brilliance, and you begin to lead with presence. And that, paradoxically, makes you even more compelling, because the most magnetic people are not the ones who speak the most, but the ones who make others feel most deeply heard. So be that person, the one who listens, who pays attention, who holds space. You may not always be the loudest, but you will be remembered. Not for your volume, but for your presence. Not for how much you said, but for how fully you made others feel understood. That is the silent art. And it changes everything. Habit 3, own your energy. There's something undeniably magnetic about people who walk into a room and change the atmosphere, not with their words, but with their presence. You feel them before they speak. Their calm is contagious. Their confidence is grounded. Their energy is clean, clear, and contained. That is not accidental. That is ownership. Owning your energy means taking full responsibility for the emotional, mental, and spiritual space you bring into the world. It means no longer leaking your peace to the opinions of others, the chaos of the day, or the weight of your past. It means understanding that your state affects your surroundings, and choosing, again and again, to show up from a place of grounded power. This kind of ownership is not about control. It's about alignment. It's not about pretending to feel good when you don't. It's about meeting yourself honestly and moving from intention rather than reaction. People who own their energy don't wait for the world to regulate them. They do the work. Daily, quietly, relentlessly. They start their mornings in stillness. They clear their minds before absorbing noise. They choose thoughts that serve peace. They notice their triggers and move through them with awareness. They do not outsource their state to the weather, the traffic, the headline, or the mood of others. When you begin to own your energy, you stop absorbing everything around you. You become a filter, not a sponge. You learn how to hold space for others without carrying what is not yours. You stop walking into rooms and unconsciously syncing with the most chaotic energy. Instead, you become the one others sync with, the one whose energy is steady, anchored, true. And the silently attractive? They embody this. They understand that energy speaks louder than appearance. That how you carry yourself matters more than what you wear. That people may not remember your words, but they will remember how they felt in your presence. There's power in restraint, in not reacting to every stimulus, in choosing when to speak, when to stay silent, when to walk away. There's magnetism in emotional discipline, in the ability to stay calm under pressure, kind under provocation, and composed when others unravel. To own your energy, you must first know where it leaks. Is it your phone first thing in the morning? Is it replaying conversations you can't change? Is it overextending to please others? Or underexpressing to avoid judgment? These are the invisible drains. Until you address them, you'll always feel like you're chasing equilibrium. Begin by creating space, literally and emotionally. Clean your room. Clean your digital world. Clean your boundaries. Start paying attention to the people, environments, and habits that leave you feeling heavier, and those that restore you. Then, protect your energy like it's sacred. Because it is. Say no without guilt. Log off without apology. Rest without shame. Meditate even when your mind fights it. Choose nourishment over stimulation. Surround yourself with those who respect your peace. And above all, show up for yourself the way you wish others would. This is not about being perfect. It's about being intentional. Every moment you catch yourself slipping into old patterns and choose differently, you shift your frequency. And over time, that frequency becomes your baseline. Others feel this. They may not be able to articulate it, but they sense something different in you. A steadiness, a clarity, a quiet confidence. They feel safer, calmer, more inspired in your presence. Why? Because you've stopped outsourcing your state, and in doing so, you give others permission to do the same. Owning your energy doesn't mean you never wobble. It means you know how to return. It means you have a relationship with your center. It means your peace is not at the mercy of the world, it is the foundation upon which you meet the world. So become intentional about your presence. Move like your energy matters, because it does. Show up with clarity. Speak from truth. Pause when you're triggered. Recharge when you're drained. Protect your inner world like it's the most valuable thing you own, because it is. And in doing so, you will stop chasing influence, because you've become the influence. That is what it means to own your energy, and it is irresistibly attractive. Habit 4, protect your peace. Peace is not the absence of noise. It's the presence of clarity, of boundaries, of choosing, moment by moment, to prioritize your inner state over external chaos. In a world that profits from your anxiety, protecting your peace becomes a revolutionary act. The silently attractive understand this. They don't just stumble upon peace, they cultivate it. They protect it like sacred ground. And in doing so, they become a rare presence in a world addicted to reactivity. Their calm doesn't come from avoiding life, it comes from meeting life differently. Protecting your peace begins with one radical decision: your internal world matters more than anything outside of you. Not in a selfish way, but in a sovereign way. You recognize that when your inner state is off, the entire lens through which you view the world is distorted. So you make peace your priority. You stop waiting for the world to calm down and you choose to create calm within. This doesn't mean hiding from reality. It means responding to reality with intention. It means noticing what drains you and choosing differently. It means knowing the difference between what you can change and what you must release. As the Stoics taught, we suffer more in imagination than in reality. And so we must train our minds to become allies, not saboteurs. People who protect their peace don't rush. They move with rhythm. They pause before replying. They sleep enough. They say no when needed. They unplug often. They have boundaries, not walls, but wise lines drawn from self-respect. And perhaps most importantly, they do not explain their peacekeeping to those who demand chaos. To protect your peace is to stop arguing with what is. It's accepting reality without surrendering your agency. It's letting go of trying to control people, and instead mastering your own responses. It's allowing others to have their stories, their moods, their projections, without making them your burden. It means stepping away from drama, not out of fear, but out of clarity. You learn to spot the red flags early, the draining conversations, the toxic cycles, the energy vampires. And instead of staying to prove your strength, you leave to preserve your soul. Protecting your peace also means simplifying. The quieter your life, the clearer your intuition, the fewer distractions, the more presence you reclaim. Clean spaces, clear calendars, digital minimalism. All of these are tools, not to escape life, but to engage it more fully. You also begin to curate what you consume. You protect your mental space by being intentional with your media, your conversations, your inputs. You don't binge on outrage. You don't feed your fear. You choose what nourishes over what stimulates, what clarifies over what clutters. And here's what's truly magnetic: your peace becomes palpable. Others feel it. In the steadiness of your voice, in your non-reactivity, in how you hold your center while others spiral. You become an anchor in the storm, not because you're immune to chaos, but because you've trained your nervous system not to flinch at every wave. You become someone who responds, not reacts. Someone who listens, not lashes. Someone who moves through the world with quiet clarity. Want to begin? Start small. Audit your life. What are you tolerating that steals your peace? What boundaries have you abandoned out of guilt? What habits hijack your energy each day? Then, reclaim. Say no more often. Rest more deeply. Guard your morning hours like treasure. Cut the conversation short when it turns to gossip. Let go of explaining yourself to those committed to misunderstanding you. Create rituals that restore you. Make your home a sanctuary. Make your mind a soft place to land. The world will pull at you. It will demand urgency. It will test your edges. But you don't have to engage every tug. You don't have to attend every drama. You are allowed to protect your nervous system. To protect your time. To protect your joy. Because when your peace is protected, your presence becomes powerful. And when your presence is powerful, your silence becomes influence. That is the gift of guarding your inner state. That is the brilliance of protecting your peace. And that, more than anything else, makes you unforgettable. Habit 5, speak with purpose. Words are not just sounds. They are vibrations. They shape perception, plant ideas, inspire change, or cause harm. To speak with purpose is to wield your voice with intention. Not to impress, not to fill silence, but to offer something meaningful, something aligned, something true. The silently attractive understand the power of purposeful speech. They don't waste words. They don't dominate conversations to prove their intelligence. Instead, they speak when they have something worth saying, and that restraint alone sets them apart. Speaking with purpose doesn't mean speaking rarely. It means speaking with clarity. It means choosing words that build, not break. Words that align with your values, that serve your listener, not just your ego. Purposeful speech is thoughtful, deliberate, and precise. It's not about sounding smart, it's about being real. In a world addicted to noise, the one who speaks with quiet authority becomes unforgettable. To speak with purpose, you must first get comfortable with silence. You must learn that not every moment needs to be filled. That your value is not diminished by pauses. That depth often lies between the words. Silence is not awkwardness, it is space. And those who master space, master attention. When you do speak, speak from presence. Don't rehearse your next sentence while the other person is still talking. Don't shape your words based on how you'll be perceived. Speak from your truth, even if it shakes, even if it's imperfect. Because sincerity carries further than polish ever will. The Stoics knew this. Epictetus said, "We have 2 ears and 1 mouth so that we can listen twice as much as we speak. But when we do speak, let it matter." Speaking with purpose also means knowing when not to speak. It means resisting the temptation to correct every mistake, to insert your opinion where it's not needed, to win every argument. Sometimes power is saying nothing at all. Let others have the last word. Let silence speak for you. That kind of restraint is rare and powerful. To speak with purpose is to speak from alignment. When your thoughts, emotions, and values are in harmony, your words carry weight. People feel that. They lean in. Not because you're the loudest, but because what you say matters. And it goes beyond words. Your tone, your body language, your intention, these all speak. Are your words laced with judgment, or infused with curiosity? Are you trying to connect, or just compete? Are you speaking to elevate, or to dominate? Purposeful speech is less about information and more about impact. Ask yourself, what does this person need to hear right now? How can I speak in a way that honors them and myself? Is what I'm about to say kind, true, and necessary? If not, maybe it's best left unsaid. To cultivate this habit, slow down. Take a breath before you speak. Ask yourself if your words are reactive or reflective. Practice pausing. Let silence stretch. Watch how others open up when they feel truly heard and not simply responded to. In your daily life, speak blessings. Compliment sincerely. Offer gratitude often. Tell people what they mean to you. Use your voice not just to express, but to uplift. The world has enough critics. Be a source of clarity, of calm, of kindness. Over time, this kind of speech creates a reputation. People begin to associate your voice with truth, with presence, with insight. You become someone worth listening to, not because you demand attention, but because you offer something valuable. When you speak with purpose, you become a channel, not a performer. You're not trying to be impressive. You're trying to be impactful. You're not talking for the sake of talking, you're planting seeds. And those seeds grow long after the conversation ends. So speak slowly, speak kindly, speak bravely, speak from the soul, not the script. Let your words mirror your integrity. Let them leave others better than they were before. And let your silence be just as powerful as your speech. Because when your voice is grounded in purpose, it doesn't just fill a room, it transforms it. That is the quiet power of speaking with intention. And it will make you unforgettable. Habit 6. Cultivate mysterious confidence. Confidence is attractive. But mysterious confidence? That's unforgettable. It's the kind of quiet power that doesn't announce itself. It doesn't shout. It doesn't dominate. It simply is. It lives in posture, in eye contact, in the calm of your breath and the ease of your presence. You don't need to prove anything, because your existence already speaks. Mysterious confidence isn't about charm or charisma. It's about inner certainty. It's the unshakable knowing that you are enough, not because you've been told so, but because you've discovered it within yourself. It's less about what you do and more about how you do it. There's a stillness in you, a groundedness, that makes people pause in a world full of noise and self-promotion. This kind of presence feels rare, and that's why it draws people in. What makes confidence mysterious? First, it's quiet. There's no performance. You're not trying to be liked, you're simply being real. You let others have their opinions, their moments, their reactions. You don't flinch. You don't chase. You don't explain yourself unnecessarily. And that restraint becomes power. Second, it's consistent. Mysterious confidence isn't a mask worn on good days. It's a steady current. Even when things fall apart. It's your ability to stay composed under pressure. To meet life with resilience. Not resistance. To trust that whatever comes, you can handle it. Third, it's inwardly sourced. You don't depend on applause to feel good about yourself. You validate your own experience. You know what you bring to the table, and you don't feel the need to remind people of it. That kind of independence? That's magnetic. People often confuse mysterious confidence with arrogance. But they are worlds apart. Arrogance is loud, performative, fragile. Mysterious confidence is calm, effortless, unbothered. It doesn't compete, it attracts. It doesn't take energy from others, it creates safety around itself. This kind of confidence is built slowly. It's earned through choices made in private, through promises kept to yourself, through self-trust built brick by brick. It's the result of doing the inner work, healing, forgiving, growing. You don't wake up with it one day. You cultivate it. To build mysterious confidence, begin with awareness. Where in your life are you performing? Where are you trying to be impressive instead of authentic? Notice the moments when you over-explain, overshare, overreach. These are signals, not of failure, but of opportunities to return to yourself. Then, start anchoring into your own rhythm. Move slower, breathe deeper, speak with intention, take up space without apology. Let your presence be the punctuation, not your voice. This doesn't mean being aloof or distant. You can be warm and inviting and still have boundaries. You can be kind and still be unapologetically yourself. Confidence doesn't require armor, it requires alignment. Another key to mysterious confidence is becoming okay with being misunderstood. You stop over-clarifying. You stop chasing closure. You let people have their projections, and you stay rooted in your truth. The need to be fully seen by others fades as you begin to fully see yourself. You will notice that this energy starts to shift how people respond to you. They lean in. They listen more closely. They feel the clarity of your no and the weight of your yes. They're not just drawn to your presence, they're steadied by it. To cultivate this further, practice self-validation. Celebrate your quiet wins. Sit with discomfort instead of reacting. Challenge your inner critic. Speak to yourself like someone you love. Learn from failure without collapsing into shame. This is how confidence is deepened, not on stage, but in solitude. Over time, you'll realize you no longer need to chase admiration. You've become your own source of security. And ironically, that's when others start admiring you the most, not for what you do, but for how deeply you know yourself. That is the essence of mysterious confidence. It's not a performance, it's a presence. And once you learn to live from that place, the world begins to respond not to your noise, but to your depth. So walk into rooms with a quiet knowing. Stand tall without the need to tower. Let your confidence whisper, not to go unnoticed, but to be unmistakable, because when you radiate from within, you don't have to be loud to be heard. You simply have to be real, and that, in its quiet, powerful way, is captivating. Habit 7. Practice calm detachment. In a world of overreactions, emotional entanglements, and endless scrolling, the ability to remain calm and detached is a rare form of power. But detachment is often misunderstood. It's not indifference. It's not apathy. It's not coldness. True calm detachment is presence without attachment. It's love without control. It's clarity without clinging. The silently attractive practice this skill not as a defense mechanism, but as a conscious way of engaging with life. They don't over-invest in outcomes they cannot control. They don't get swept up in drama. They care deeply, but they don't carry what isn't theirs to hold. Calm detachment is born from inner steadiness, from knowing where you end and others begin, from understanding that your peace does not depend on the behavior of those around you. It is the ability to observe without absorbing, to witness without reacting, to care without losing your center. When you embody calm detachment, your energy becomes grounded. Others feel it. You're not swayed by every opinion, every mood, every shift in the wind. You become the still point in a spinning world. And that stillness, it's magnetic. Why? Because most people are caught in the storm. They cling to validation. They spiral with rejection. They confuse emotion with truth. But the one who can feel fully, and still choose their response, that person becomes unforgettable. To cultivate this kind of detachment, start by practicing awareness. Notice your triggers. Where do you feel the urge to jump in, fix, defend, or cling? Those are invitations, not to suppress, but to investigate. What fear is underneath the reaction? What belief are you protecting? Next, practice the pause. When emotions rise, wait, breathe, feel the sensation fully, but don't become it. Let the wave pass through without letting it dictate your behavior. This space between stimulus and response is where freedom lives. Detachment also means releasing the need to control others. You stop managing their impressions of you. You let them misunderstand you if they must. You allow others to walk their path, even when it diverges from yours. You trust that the right people don't need to be chased, and the wrong ones won't stay, no matter how much you grip. This doesn't mean you stop caring. It means you care cleanly. You love without losing yourself. You support without rescuing. You offer without expecting. And you protect your peace even while staying open. Another layer of detachment is surrendering outcomes. You do your part, but release the results. You stop micromanaging the future. You act from integrity and let go of control. This requires trust. In timing. In life. In your own resilience. The Stoics were masters of this. They taught us to focus on what's within our control, our thoughts, our actions, our choices, and to let go of the rest. Not because the rest doesn't matter, but because clinging to what we cannot command only multiplies suffering. When you live this way, you conserve energy. You stop leaking attention to every drama. You protect your nervous system from chronic stress. You become less reactive, more discerning, and over time, this becomes your new baseline. You also begin to see people more clearly, without the lens of need, projection, or expectation. You witness who they truly are, not who you hope they'll be. And from this clarity, your relationships deepen. Not because you're attached, but because you're present. Want to practice calm detachment? Start small. Don't respond right away to provocation. Don't react to every text, post, or opinion. Create internal space. Journal your emotions instead of unloading them. Set boundaries, not as walls, but as declarations of self-respect. Speak calmly. Leave when needed. Choose silence over proving your point. Most importantly, trust yourself. Trust that you don't need to grip life tightly to enjoy it. That you can hold space for joy and pain without attaching your worth to either. That letting go doesn't mean giving up, it means opening your hands to what's meant for you, and slowly, you begin to live with more ease, not because life gets easier, but because you stop resisting what is. You flow. You breathe. You let things come and go without chasing or clinging. You meet life as it is, not as you wish it to be, and in that state, calm, grounded, unattached, you become a quiet force, not loud, not flashy, just unmistakably powerful. That is the essence of calm detachment, and it is one of the most silently attractive traits you can embody. Habitate, be selectively mysterious. Not everything needs to be explained. Not every thought needs to be shared. Not every moment requires a caption. There is power in privacy, in restraint, in mystery. And those who master the art of selective mystery possess a magnetic quality that cannot be manufactured. To be selectively mysterious is not to be secretive or deceptive, it's to hold something sacred. It's to understand that your life is not a performance for public approval, but a quiet unfolding of inner truth. In a world that overshares for validation, withholding becomes a superpower. The silently attractive understand this instinctively. They offer glimpses, not blueprints. They share meaningfully, not excessively. They let their presence speak before their stories do. And because they don't reveal everything, people lean in closer. They wonder. They feel the depth beneath the surface. They sense there's more than meets the eye. Mystery, when authentic, invites curiosity. It awakens the imagination. It commands respect. But it only works when it's rooted in substance, when what you withhold is not empty, but rich with meaning, conviction, and complexity. So how do you cultivate selective mystery? First, observe your habits of disclosure. Are you sharing out of connection, or compulsion? Are you posting to express, or to prove? Are your stories nourishing, or just noise? The practice begins with silence, not as avoidance, but as discernment. You realize that not everything needs to be said just because you feel it. That some experiences are more powerful when protected. That intimacy doesn't require visibility. You also learn to speak in layers, to share just enough to connect, but not so much that your soul is laid bare before it's safe. You let people earn deeper access, not out of arrogance, but out of self-respect. You guard your story not because it's shameful, but because it's sacred. This creates space for genuine curiosity. And curiosity is fuel for connection. When someone doesn't immediately reveal their every opinion, desire, or history, others feel invited to explore, not just their words, but their essence. And in that exploration, attraction deepens. Being selectively mysterious also means being intentional with your presence. You don't always have to respond. You don't always have to explain. You don't need to be reachable every second. The one who pauses before replying, who leaves room for silence, who doesn't jump at every ping, that person creates space for longing. And longing, when mutual, builds magnetism. But let's be clear, mystery without depth is manipulation. This isn't about playing hard to get or creating confusion. It's about being rooted in your own world. It's about cultivating a life so rich, intellectually, emotionally, spiritually, that it naturally becomes compelling. Want to begin? Start by living for yourself first. Pursue passions that light you up, even if no one sees them. Read books that nourish your soul, not just your status. Create without posting. Reflect without sharing. Let solitude shape your inner world so that when you do engage, you're offering something real. Then, practice restraint. Let go of the need to explain your every choice. Say thank you instead of justifying compliments. Let silence sit after a powerful moment. Don't reveal your next move until it's made. Let your actions tell the story. Over time, you will notice a shift. People won't just listen to your words, they'll listen to your pauses. They'll ask questions instead of assuming. They'll lean closer, not because you're withholding, but because you're holding something worth discovering. This kind of mystery is not about evasion, it's about intention. You're not unavailable, you're just not desperate to be known instantly. You let trust unfold. You let connection grow at a natural pace. You let others meet you where they're ready, not where you force them to be. And here's the paradox. The more you hold back from broadcasting your soul, the more your soul becomes sought after. Because when you carry mystery with presence, you don't have to chase attention. You become the invitation. That is the quiet elegance of selective mystery. And it is deeply, silently attractive. Habit 9, radiate self-respect. Self-respect isn't a loud declaration. It doesn't need applause. It doesn't demand recognition. It simply is a quiet, steady pulse at the core of who you are. It shows up in your decisions, in your posture, in the standards you keep when no one is watching. Those who radiate self-respect don't just talk about boundaries, they live them. They don't need to be seen as strong because they know they are. Their strength comes not from dominance, but from dignity, from honoring their truth even when it's inconvenient, from choosing integrity over approval. This kind of presence doesn't need validation to exist. And because it's so rare in a world of people-pleasing and performative confidence, it stands out. To radiate self-respect is to carry a certain energy, one that tells the world, I know my worth, and I act accordingly. You don't have to say it. You embody it. In how you speak to yourself, in how you treat others, in what you tolerate, and more importantly, in what you don't. Self-respect begins with self-awareness. You have to know yourself well enough to know what feels right and what doesn't. You have to pause before saying yes just to avoid conflict. You have to be willing to disappoint others rather than betray yourself. That's not arrogance. That's self-honor. It means showing up for your own needs, without shame. Feeding your body. Resting when tired. Saying no when something doesn't sit right. You stop chasing connections that require self-abandonment. You walk away from spaces where your presence is undervalued. You stop begging for a seat at the table, and start building your own. Self-respect also shapes how you communicate. You speak clearly. You don't sugarcoat truths that matter. You don't shrink to keep others comfortable. But you also don't weaponize your boundaries. You assert them calmly, firmly, with grace. It changes your relationship with time and energy. You no longer say yes out of guilt or obligation. You protect your calendar like you protect your peace. You don't overextend just to earn worthiness points. You give from overflow, not depletion. Radiating self-respect also changes how you handle conflict. You don't engage in petty arguments. You don't explain your worth to those who refuse to see it. You don't chase closure from people who were never open. You choose silence over chaos, distance over drama. And in doing so, you reclaim power, power that was always yours. Want to begin? Start by examining where in your life you're tolerating disrespect, subtle or blatant. In your relationships, your work, your habits. What do you continue to accept that violates your values? What promises do you break to yourself daily? Then, Rebuild from there. Keep the promises you make to yourself, even the small ones. Wake up when you said you would. Follow through on the boundaries you set. Speak kindly to yourself in the mirror. Hold yourself with the same reverence you long to receive from others. And when someone disrespects you, don't make excuses for them. Don't twist yourself to make their behavior okay. Recognize that how others treat you is information. And how you respond, that's self-respect. This practice will ripple outward. Others will begin to respond differently. Not because you've changed how you look or what you say, but because you've changed how you treat yourself. You've raised your frequency. You've become someone who walks with quiet confidence and clear lines. And here's the paradox. When you radiate self-respect, you invite deeper respect from others, not through force, but through example. It's not about being perfect. It's about being principled. It's not about being hard. It's about being whole. So walk into every room with the energy of someone who knows their value, not in comparison to others, but in connection to your truth. Because the more you respect yourself, the less you settle for what dishonors you. And when you live like that, you don't just turn respect, you radiate it. And that radiant presence, it's silently irresistible. Habit 10. Move with purpose. There is something captivating about a person who moves with purpose, not haste, not panic, but clarity. Each step intentional, each gesture rooted. They don't rush, but they're never idle. They aren't driven by external chaos, they are led by internal alignment. This kind of presence doesn't just walk into a room. It shifts the room. To move with purpose is to live by design rather than default. It's to act not out of reactivity, but from a place of deep knowing. You don't just fill your time, you direct your energy. You don't just go through the motions, you live with intention behind every motion. This doesn't mean every moment is productive. It means every moment is conscious. The silently attractive understand that how you move says more than what you say. They walk like they belong, because they've accepted themselves. They sit with composure, because they're not proving anything. They flow through environments not to dominate, but to harmonize, and people notice. Why? Because most are scattered, rushing, distracted. There's a desperation in their pace, a tension in their movement. But when someone carries themselves with ease and conviction, it's like watching a still flame. It commands attention without asking for it. So how do you cultivate purposeful movement? It begins with awareness. How are you moving through your day? Frantic or fluid? Mindless or mindful? Is your energy pulled in every direction, or channeled with intention? Start small. Walk slower. Stand taller. Breathe deeper. Let your body reflect your presence, not your anxiety. When you enter a room, do so with calm confidence. When you sit, sit fully. When you listen, lean in, not just with ears, but with your posture. Purposeful movement is about congruence. Your actions align with your values. You say what you mean. You go where you're called. You make decisions that reflect the person you're becoming, not the fears you're fleeing. It's also about rhythm. You honor cycles of rest, of action, of renewal. You don't push beyond exhaustion just to prove your worth. You move when it's time to move. You pause when it's time to be still. There is wisdom in your pacing, and that wisdom is felt. Moving with purpose also means protecting your energy. You stop saying yes to what fragments your focus. You no longer chase opportunities that aren't aligned. You stop running after people who don't meet you halfway. Every move becomes a message: I value my time, and I honor my direction. This energy builds trust. Others begin to sense your reliability, not just in words, but in how you show up. Your consistency becomes magnetic. Your decisions become teaching tools. Your lifestyle becomes a quiet inspiration. Want to practice this? Set an intention each morning. Not a long to-do list, but a guiding principle. Today, I move with grace. Today, I speak with honesty. Today, I protect my peace. Let that intention shape your actions. Then, slow down. Not to do less, but to do things with more presence. When you eat, taste your food. When you walk, feel your feet on the ground. When you speak, let your words be rooted in truth. This is how movement becomes meaningful. Let your schedule reflect your soul. Don't fill it with noise. Fill it with nourishment. Create space between tasks so you can breathe. Design rituals that ground you. Let your environment support your purpose, not distract you from it. And over time, others will begin to sense something different in you. They won't just see what you do. They'll feel how you do it. They'll see someone who doesn't just move, they move with direction. Someone who doesn't just act, they act with depth. Someone who doesn't just live, they live with purpose. And that kind of presence? It lingers, because in a world that's rushing, you become a reminder that slowness is not laziness, it's power. That presence is not passivity, it's command. That movement is not performance, it's a reflection of who you are becoming. Move with purpose, and the world will move with you. Habit 11, stay unavailable to negativity. There's a quiet strength in the person who refuses to be pulled into negativity. They don't argue every insult. They don't internalize every criticism. They don't match energy with toxicity. Instead, they remain anchored, calm, composed, and above the noise. To stay unavailable to negativity is not to pretend that pain doesn't exist. It's not about toxic positivity or turning a blind eye to injustice. It's about choosing your inner state with care. It's about understanding that you can acknowledge the storm without living inside it. Silently attractive people carry this power. You see it in how they handle rude comments, with silence, not retaliation. You hear it in their language, uplifting, not diminishing. You feel it in their presence, grounded, not reactive. Why is this so compelling? Because negativity is contagious, and so is peace. When someone maintains their peace in the face of provocation, it creates a ripple. It disarms tension. It shifts dynamics. It speaks louder than any defense could. That's the energy of someone who knows they're not here to absorb dysfunction, they're here to embody clarity. Staying unavailable to negativity means you become selective about what enters your mind, your heart, your home. You protect your inputs. You filter your conversations. You don't gossip. You don't dwell. You don't entertain energy that drains you. This takes discipline. It's easy to react. It's tempting to defend. But when you choose stillness over spite, grace over grudge, you become a rare force. And that rarity is attractive, not because it's aloof, but because it's self-respecting. Want to build this trait? Start with boundaries. Not just physical, but energetic. Know where you end and others begin. Know what kind of behavior you allow in your space. And when someone crosses that line, respond with firmness, not fury. Then, mind your thoughts. Negativity often starts internally: self-criticism, resentment, jealousy. Catch those loops. Don't shame yourself. But don't feed them either. Replace rumination with redirection. Shift from why me to what now? From blame to responsibility. Curate your environment. Follow people who inspire you. Read content that uplifts. Watch what strengthens your mindset. Let your digital diet reflect the peace you want to cultivate. Because what you consume becomes what you radiate. Practice detachment. Not everyone deserves a reaction. Not every comment needs correction. Not every slight requires resolution. You don't have to attend every argument you're invited to. Sometimes, the strongest move is no move at all. Reclaim your attention. When you notice your mood sinking, ask, is this mine to carry? Is this worth my peace? What would I rather create instead? These questions bring you back to your center. They return your power to choose, and most of all, lead with light. Be the one who doesn't just avoid negativity, but generates positivity. Encourage others. Smile without needing a reason. Celebrate people's wins without comparison. Speak life. Offer compassion. Choose humor. Be the thermostat, not the thermometer. Set the emotional tone. Over time, this energy becomes your signature. People feel better around you, not because you fix them, but because you refuse to be infected by their chaos. You don't absorb pain, you transmute it. You don't suppress darkness, you light a candle instead. And in a world that feeds off outrage, you become a sanctuary, not loud, not performative, just quietly, consistently, peacefully, unavailable to negativity. That is power, and that is the final mark of silent attraction, because in the end, your greatest influence is not how much noise you make, it's how much peace you hold. Let that be your legacy. You don't need to be the loudest in the room to be remembered. You don't need to chase trends to stay relevant. You don't need to become someone else to be admired. What truly draws people in, what creates connection, trust, and admiration, is how deeply you've chosen to embody your values in silence. The habits shared in this journey are not about becoming someone new. They're about returning to what has always been within you: wisdom, calm, strength, and quiet power. Each practice is an invitation to stop performing and start becoming. To live intentionally. To speak less and mean more. To be present without explanation. In a society that screams, the one who whispers stands out. In a world that performs, the one who is present becomes unforgettable. So take this not just as information, but as transformation. Let it shift the way you move through your day. The way you see yourself. The way you show up for others. You don't need to chase admiration when your presence alone earns respect. May your journey be rooted in authenticity. May your words be few but full. May your silence be sacred, and your presence profound. Because in the end, it's not how loudly you lived, it's how deeply you moved others. And that is the essence of silent attraction.